Imagine, for a moment, the perfect man. He's a billionaire, of course, but not some schlubby, inherited wealth type. Now, this man is a genius, a self-made titan of industry, who also happens to have a jawline that looks like it was personally carved by Zeus. He's a world-class athlete, a devoted philanthropist, and when he's not running his multinational corporation or saving orphans, he's probably driving one of his many custom sports cars to a gala full of supermodels. His charm is so thick you could swim in it. He is, in every conceivable way, extraordinary. He is the pinnacle, the 0.001%. And he's not real. The man I'm describing is Bruce Wayne. He's a comic book character, a fantasy. And that feeling, that gap between the fiction we're sold and the reality we live in, is a space I know intimately. I'm Sam Carter, and for years I was trapped there, chasing a ghost. That struggle is what set me on the journey I want to share with you today. Because I think we're being poisoned by the myth of the extraordinary. You probably clicked on this video because you want to get ahead. You want to learn the secret to being better than 99% of people. You want, in some way, to be a little more like Bruce Wayne. I get it. But today, I want to take a detour from our usual programming of more, better, faster. Today, I want to argue for something deeply unsexy, something you will almost never hear. I want to argue for the profound, life-altering power of coming to terms with your own mediocrity. Stick with me, because what sounds like an insult is actually the key to your freedom. To understand what I mean, we need to talk about a simple, fundamental reality of life. The bell curve. In any given human population, for any given trait, height, intelligence, creativity, athletic ability, most people cluster around the middle. A small number of people are at the low end, a small number of people are at the high end, and the vast majority of us, we're average. This isn't a judgment, it's just math. Think about basketball. On one far end of the bell curve, you have Michael Jordan. He represents a statistical anomaly, a 1 in a billion combination of genetics, drive, and circumstance. On the other far end, you have someone so uncoordinated they can't dribble a ball without tripping over their own feet. And then there's the rest of us, the 99.9% in the middle. We can shoot some hoops at the park, we can enjoy a game. We might be okay, maybe even pretty good if we practice, but we are not Michael Jordan, and we never will be. This is true for everything. Writing, cooking, singing, coding, managing finances, telling jokes. We all have a few things we're pretty good at, a few things we're terrible at, and a vast landscape of things where we are solidly, unremarkably average. But there's a second, even more crucial layer to this: trade-offs. To become truly exceptional at one thing, to even get close to that Michael Jordan level of outlier status, requires a sacrifice of almost everything else. Greatness in one area is paid for with mediocrity in others. Let me make this real for you. Let's invent a person. We'll call her Alex. Alex is an Olympic-level swimmer. She is in the 99th percentile of aquatic athletes. She is, by any measure, extraordinary. But what does her life look like? Her alarm goes off at 4:15 a.m. every morning. The smell of chlorine isn't just a smell, it's the permanent perfume of her skin, her hair. Her diet is a spreadsheet of macros and nutrients, not a source of pleasure. Every meal is fuel. Her friendships are strained by missed birthdays, cancelled plans, and the simple fact that her life is a relentless cycle of train, eat, sleep, repeat. She has the cardiovascular system of a demigod, but she might have the social skills of a teenager, the financial literacy of a child, and no professional skills outside of the pool. Her excellence, her extraordinary gift, has been paid for with a life that is, in almost every other respect, profoundly underdeveloped and average. That is the price of the extreme end of the bell curve. Most of us aren't willing or able to pay it. We see the brilliant founder and admire their empire, but we don't see the wreckage of their 3 failed marriages. The 10 richest men in the world have been divorced a collective 13 times. It turns out, being a master of the universe in the boardroom often means you're a complete fuck-up at home. It's the trade-off. So, if being average is the statistical norm, and being exceptional requires these immense, often brutal sacrifices, why do we all feel so inadequate? Why does being average feel like a failure? This is where the story gets darker. It's because our information diet is broken. Our perception of reality has been hijacked. All day, every day, we are flooded with information from the absolute extremes of the bell curve. Your social media feed is a highlight reel of the extraordinary. The most beautiful people, on the most exotic vacations, celebrating the most incredible achievements. The news cycle is no different. It doesn't report on the 300 million Americans who had a perfectly normal, uneventful day. It reports on the one person who won the lottery, the one person who committed a heinous crime, the political scandal, the corporate implosion. It's the best of the best and the worst of the worst, 24/7. Because that's what gets eyeballs. That's what drives clicks. That's what sells ads. And it is my belief that this constant, unrelenting flood of extreme information has conditioned us to erroneously believe that exceptional is the new normal. It has created a kind of psychological tyranny, a world where you feel this constant, nagging pressure to prove that you are special. To have a fascinating side hustle, to run a marathon, to have a perfectly curated home, to be raising genius children, all while looking flawless. We see a 5-second clip of someone executing a perfect gymnastic move, and our brain registers it as an event. We don't see the 10,000 hours of grueling practice, the hundreds of falls, the torn ligaments, the sheer mind-numbing repetition that went into it. We just see the perfect, extraordinary moment, and then we scroll to the next one. This distortion makes us feel like we're falling behind in a race we never even signed up for. It's a rigged game designed to make you feel worthless, because a worthless-feeling person is a perfect consumer, always buying the next thing that promises to make them feel special. But here is the great, beautiful paradox in all of this. This is the secret that the race to be special completely misses. If you actually look at the people who become truly exceptional in their fields, the ones who genuinely push humanity forward, they do so not because they believe they are exceptional. On the contrary, they become amazing because they are obsessed with improvement. And that obsession with improvement stems from an unerring belief that they are, in fact, not great at all. That they are average. That they suck. It's the writer who is convinced her last book was garbage and is obsessed with making the next one better. It's the scientist who sees every solved problem as just exposing a dozen new, more complex questions. It's the entrepreneur who believes their product is still clumsy and inefficient, and who stays up all night trying to refine it. This is the engine of all true accomplishment. It's not a delusional self-confidence. It's a profound, almost painful dissatisfaction with the status quo. It's an internal drive for mastery, not an external craving for validation. Let's go back to our artisans. Imagine two of them. Leo, the first one, wants to be a famous artist. His workshop is pristine, perfectly lit for Instagram. He finishes a piece and immediately posts it. He spends the next 3 hours anxiously refreshing his feed, his heart leaping with every like, sinking with every negative comment. He starts tailoring his work not to his own vision, but to what he thinks will get the most engagement. His desire to be seen as extraordinary has made him a slave to the opinions of others. He feels constantly empty. Then there is Elias. Elias is also an artist, but he couldn't care less about fame. His workshop is a dusty, chaotic mess. He finishes a piece, a beautiful chair, and instead of showing it to anyone, he just sits with it for hours. He runs his hand over a joint and feels a tiny, microscopic imperfection that no one else would ever notice, and it bothers him deeply. He doesn't feel pride, he feels the pull of the next attempt. He's obsessed with the craft itself, driven by the internal belief that his work is not yet good enough. He's not chasing the feeling of being great, he's chasing the process of getting better. Now, which of these two do you think ultimately creates work that lasts? Which one is free? This mindset is everywhere among people at the top of their game. There's a fantastic clip of the musician Tyler, the Creator. An interviewer asks him, "Why should people care about Tyler, the Creator?" And without a moment's hesitation, he just looks at the camera and says, deadpan, "They shouldn't. I'm not shit. I actually suck. It's tight." I actually suck. It's tight. That is the paradox of ambition in its purest form. It's the acceptance of his own perceived mediocrity that liberates him to create truly groundbreaking, exceptional work. He's not trying to convince you he's great, he's busy with the process of improvement. The self-help industry, the endless gurus, the motivational posters, they sell you this idea that everyone can be and should be extraordinary, that you just need to believe in yourself hard enough. This message is like a Big Mac for your heart and your brain. It feels good for a second, it's easy to consume, it gives you a quick, cheap hit of emotional sugar, but ultimately it's empty calories. It leaves you feeling bloated, unhealthy, and always craving the next hit. True emotional health, true self-respect, doesn't come from this junk food. It comes from eating your vegetables. It comes from accepting the bland, unsexy, but deeply nourishing truths of life. It's a light salad of, "You're actually pretty average in the grand scheme of things," and some steamed broccoli of, "The vast majority of your life will be unremarkable, and that's okay." It doesn't taste as good as the Big Mac, but it's what will actually make you healthy. Because here is the final, most important piece. The constant pressure to be extraordinary is a prison. It locks you in a cage of judgment, comparison, and anxiety. You can't try new things because you might not be good at them. You can't enjoy simple pleasures because they don't seem grand enough. You can't have a normal conversation without wondering if you're being interesting enough. Accepting your own mediocrity is the key that unlocks the cage door. It's not about giving up, it is the exact opposite. It is the thing that finally gives you permission to start. It frees you to pursue things simply for the joy of doing them, not for the validation they might bring. It allows you to be a wonderfully average painter, a delightfully mediocre guitarist, a perfectly adequate runner. And in that freedom from judgment, you might just stumble upon something you truly love, and that you become, almost by accident, exceptional at. But even if you don't, you win, because you get your life back. You start to realize that the most meaningful experiences in life are, by definition, average. They have to be, otherwise they wouldn't be the bedrock of the human experience. The simple joy of a good conversation with a friend. The satisfaction of creating something with your own hands, no matter how imperfect. The quiet pleasure of reading a good book. The act of helping someone without expecting anything in return. These things aren't extraordinary. They are beautifully, profoundly average. They are the stuff of life, and we have been taught to devalue them in our frantic chase for a fictional Bruce Wayne ideal. Letting go of the need to be special doesn't mean your life becomes boring. It means your life finally becomes your own. You are freed from the tyranny of the extraordinary, and you are able to find joy and meaning in the simple, mundane, wonderful reality of just being here. If this conversation resonated and you want to keep exploring these deeper questions, the best thing you can do is subscribe. It's how we protect and grow this space for thought. But before you go, be honest in the comments. What's one area where you feel the pressure to be exceptional, but are perfectly happily average? Let's normalize the 99% together. These conversations aren't always popular, so sharing this with someone who needs to hear it makes a real difference.